I've been having a blast with Lords of the Fallen despite all of the issues that I am very aware that the game has. Like the many issues that other people is very aware that the game has. Regardless of that, it's an amazing game. It's huge, the build variety and how it plays, how it feels. I would like for the weapons to have different kind of play styles and movesets and what have you. Although there's quite actually a bit of combo combination. I like to do sword and board, so that is what we're going to be doing today. I'm already planning on uploading my Darkness, Inferno, Strength, Agility, Quality, all of that good stuff. We are going to be uploading that thing, but out of the bunch I wanted to get this guy out first because this is hands down one of the most broken, powerful and amazing things that you are going to have in this game. Basic damage, basic attacks, you are going to be dealing up to 1000 damage per hits. Sometimes you can be dealing 1200, 1500, depending on the resistances and bosses and the combos. Do have in mind that when you combo attacks, there's some attacks that have like the longer animations and they have like a rally behind the punch that you are winding up the weapon. They are going to have a little bit more damage, but ideally your damage at the end game is going to be ranging from 1000 to 1500. One more thing that I love about this build is the versatility that it has. You know that this game is very punishing with the traversing and the exploration and how that works. If you don't have seats, you're going to have quite a bit of a hard time because the healing items are very scarce. Well, not that scarce, but the healing estus that you usually have, that being the case in this game, the sanguinarics, that is not going to be that amazing because it's not going to have that many of them like we are accustomed to, like for example in Dark Souls or in Elden Ring, where they were very generous in the amounts of them that we could gather early on. It's going to take quite a while for you to upgrade this thing, so you can heal yourself. Distance enemies are very freaking annoying. They are snipers and they are always going to be molesting you from every single place. So what we want to do is have range against them. And basically, all in all, this character has everything covered, like quite literally everything covered. So let's talk about that. Let's begin with stats and I'm going to guide you through. I already have the early game version of this guy. Now I'm going to give you the end game version, and I'm also going to tell you how to tweak a little bit how you should be leveling up this guy to manage to be as broken and powerful as my character is. Ideally, at the end we're going to be on 110. Our level is going to be 110. And our main stats is going to be Endurance, Vitality, and Radiance. Let's talk about the soft caps and hard caps that we have in Radiance. The soft cap at Radiance happens at around 40 and 50. That's where I have noticed that how the depletes the damage. I believe that up to 40 you can get like in return 7 points in damage. I have seen that 5 or 7 points in damage. Then beyond that points, it's ideally going to be like 5 to 3 or 4 depending on the levels, just to have in mind that there is some kind of sub cap on 40 to 50. So what you want to do is for mid game you want to have Radiance on either 40 or 50, and I'd say that 40 is ideal because you also want to focus on survivability. Mid game you are going to try to reach your Vitality to 30. Endurance is really not that important unless you are going to be using medium armor, although as you can see right here I am using my full set of armor, I'm using my weapon, I'm using my shield, and I am still medium rolling, so endurance is actually not going to be that important unless you are going to be using very heavy armor. And even if you are using very heavy armor like the one that we have right here, even then we still have more than enough endurance to be able to use heavy boinky armor. Such as this one that we have right here. That said, for the fashion, I like this one. If you're wondering about my armor, this is from the Remembrance of a late game character, so you cannot miss it, and I do not want to spoil it for you either. So there is indeed that. Going back to the stats, we are going to have 40 Vitality once we reach the end game. At the end game we are still going to have 20 Endurance, and there is a hard cap at 75 Radiance. At this point, you should still be on the end game area of the game. At this point, you should have like 2 or 3 areas in front of you that you can enjoy the builds right here, fight a couple of bosses. Beyond this point, there really is no sense of going beyond this hard cap that we have at 75. So I wouldn't place any more points right here into Radiance. If you want to level up a little bit more beyond that 110, then you might as well be placing points into Vitality. The soft cap into Vitality, I think that it is 40, and then I think that we have a hard cap on 60. So 60, going 60 is always a nice idea. If you want to place a little bit more points into Endurance, that's fine as well. But with this Endurance that we have right here, we managed to do like 7 or 8 swings before we actually run out of stamina, so we can be attacking frenetically while we are rolling perfectly fine. So let's talk about the equipment, the armor. The armor is going to be up to your personal preference, but the weapon is the main thing. We're using Pietas' sword right here, +5. It's going to have a total attack power of 400 when we reach the end game, and we have that beautiful 236 scaling, damage scaling that you can see right here. Then why are we dealing 1000 points in damage? Well, for one very simple specific reason. Our talismans and equipment is going to have something to do with that. Per runes, mainly you are going to have to do our friend Girl Lint quest right here, and then you can socket runes right here. She's going to sell the runes that we are going to socket, so that's amazing. And there are infinites. We're going to be using Orimon. This is the one that increases the Radiance attribute scaling the most, because it reduces the Inferno attribute scaling. Each one of those runes, when we are at 75, it's going to give us like 150 damage in return, and I have tested that. The amazing thing is that they also stack, so you can have each one of them on your three slots that you have right here. You are going to have 3 slots on the weapon, provided that you finish her quest line. At the very early stages of the game, when you are just in early game, you can have 1. She's going to be selling one of the basic ones. When you find the second tablet, she's going to sell these guys right here, and you're going to be able to place 2. Once you finish the quest line, she's going to allow you to place 3 slots right here, and you're going to be able to place this thing right here. There's also different things that we are using to increase our damage right here. One of them is going to be the Empyrean Pendant. The Empyrean Pendant is going to be sold by this erratic fellow that we have right here. He just requires for you to kill some main bosses. After you kill some main bosses, he's going to ask you to return an item to him, and he's going to sell that to you. So there really is not that much issue about that. It is a late game item because it takes quite a while to beat the bosses that you are going to require to beat for that guy. But it's going to increase your holy damage and your holy defense. Our character, our captain that we have right here, you are going to encounter him later on. There is no way to miss him, so you are going to encounter him. Once you encounter him, make sure that you follow his quest line. Again, once you find him in that area, make sure that you do what he asks you to do. There really is not that difficult, and then after that, he's going to sell you the Orient Sorcerer's Ring, which is going to increase your holy damage. So that is going to sum up to the 1000 damage that we have. As for the second ring that we have right here, I'm using the Mine Owner's Ring. But this is something that you can get very early in the game and increase your stamina and stamina regeneration. I'd say that that is far more important than having stamina. The stamina regeneration is king, because the stamina regeneration in this game is actually kind of crappy. As for the spells, you want to have 3 things. Thankfully enough, these 3 things, you can purchase them ideally from this very same guy that we have right here. This guy is also going to sell you the catalyst. There are some other catalysts that are going to give you like different things when it comes to actually adding more spells. So if you want to add more spells to this character, you can certainly do so if you want to. They are very powerful, but ideally I like to have a holy trinity right here. Radiant Weapon to increase my melee damage, Healing Radiance to heal myself whenever I don't have means of healing myself, and thankfully enough, as you can see, I have like 50 of these guys right here. They are very common, so you're never going to be running out of them. If you run out of them, you can purchase them. They are not really that expensive, so you're always going to have access to mana. And then we're going to have the piercing lights, which is going to be a range spell. I would advise for you to keep at least piercing lights, or in the events that you want to use radiant fire, there's many different spells. They are very cool, they deal quite a lot of damage, but ideally you want to have either radiant flare or piercing light, because these are the guys that have the most range out of everything. You want to have range with this character. The shields, the runes that I'm using on the shield are actually not that important. The main thing that I have on my shield, let me show you real fast. I think that you can play and toy around with that thing right there, but the ones that I'm using, it's a little bit more poise and the resistance to being staggered. So ideally I'm just increasing my poise, because yeah, poise, it is very, very important in this kind of games. And there is really not much more than that. That is basically everything that you need to set up this paladin. I've been having a blast with this guy because of how broken, how overpowered, how much damage. And if you're wondering, then well, the Pieta sword, it has mainly holy damage. You might be wondering, isn't that like a downside? Because there's many enemies that are going to be resistant to holy, or are going to be holy based. It doesn't really matter. You deal so much, and I mean so much freaking damage, that you don't care about those enemies. And as a matter of fact, the enemies that I have been showcasing you throughout this gameplay that you are seeing in the backgrounds, most of them are holy based enemies, and as you can see, I am melting them. I am melting them, clapping them real hard. And it's just, once you reach a certain threshold and point with this paladin, the bosses and the enemies, yeah, get so easy that it's just so trivial to dealing with them. I just can't stress enough how broken, how powerful, and how amazing versatile the amount of tools that this guy has. It's just a blast to play Paladin, Lords of the Fallen. If you like the content, so like and very super appreciated. Now I told you today that you're gorgeous and beautiful person. You are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. I will be seeing you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. A beautiful day, and goodbye.